Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. This week we are doing another movie review. This is Halloween from 2018. That's right, the film came out on October 19th, which was just last week. So previously I did my non-spoiler review, so this week we are doing a spoiler-filled review. So guys, if you haven't seen the film, please do so. Please go see it in theaters. Don't watch this review until after you've seen it, because we're going to spoil the hell out of it. Now here's a couple cool magazines I wanted to show you guys. This is a Horror Hound, a retrospective of Halloween that also focuses on the new film. And this is Scream magazine, which does a feature on the new film. Really cool stuff. Alright, so guys, like I said in my last review, overall I thought this was a very good film and one of the best sequels in the franchise. Now, it's not the best because I still feel that Halloween 2 is the one true follow-up to the 1978 classic. This doesn't trump it. I feel like it did have the potential to be the best sequel, but there's a few little things that irked me that kind of took me out of the film and that kind of kept it from being the best sequel. But at any rate, they got so many things right. They did so many things very, very well. And the two main things, the two most important things, where Laurie Strode's character, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, felt she had the best performance of her career in this film. She just does a fantastic job. And the second thing being Michael Myers. Michael Myers is incredible. He's terrifying. He's everything that he needs to be. He's brutal, and he's back in a big, big way. And he's very well portrayed by Jude Courtney, as well as Nick Castle in one scene. He does do a cameo, which is really cool to see. And that scene, spoiler alert, was when Laurie sees him up in the window, and she shoots the window thinking she's going to shoot Michael, and just ends up being his reflection in the mirror. So from what I read, that is the one scene that Nick Castle did the original Shape, which is really cool because he got to show up in the film in the full costume with the mask and all, so really cool, you know. It's awesome. But Jude Courtney is Michael Myers for the majority of the time, and he just does an amazing job. He's one of the best Michaels in the franchise, no doubt about it. Not only that, it's the lighting on the character, the lighting on the mask, and the way they do the cinematography of Michael, you know. The different shots of him are so great, and some of them harken back to the 1978 original classic, and I love that. As well as some of the scenes where you see him out in the broad daylight. He's still terrifying. A lot of that has to do with the way the actor portrays him. A lot of that has to do with the way he's shot. Cinematically, you know. But at any rate, those are the two main things that work so well in the movie. Another thing being the amazing score by John Carpenter and his son. They just do such a brilliant update of those classic songs from the original, as well, adding new songs into the mix, you know. And I love that. And they do such a brilliant job, and this may be my favorite score of the entire franchise. I haven't quite decided that yet. I gotta see the movie a couple more times, but it's amazing, telling you, spot on. Brilliant job by John Carpenter. And I love the opening, how they do the opening, which looks just like the original 1978 film, with the pumpkin and the opening credits. And they have that classic font from the original, you know. And I like how it's kind of a reverse, where they first show the pumpkin smashed, and then it slowly builds up into a beautiful jack-o'-lantern, you know. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, that's basically what I said in the original review I did. But I wasn't able to elaborate on some of the negatives I had on the movie because they involve spoilers, so I'm going to get into that. But first I did want to get into a few more positives that I wasn't able to get into in the original review. And that is the family dynamic. The relationship between Laurie Strode and her daughter Karen, as played by Judy Greer, and her granddaughter, played by Andi Matichak, who plays Allison Strode. So I love that you get to see the 3 generations of Strode women in the film, and they all do a fantastic job. I love all 3 acting performances, and I think Judy Greer does a great job as the daughter. I think Andi Matichak does a great job, so all 3 of them are just fantastic, and they add some great drama and tension into the film. This could have been a drama film if it wasn't a Halloween horror film. This could have been a drama, you know, and it would have been compelling, you know, because I love the fact that you really get a look inside Laurie's trauma, and she portrays that so well, especially in the scene where Laurie goes to meet up with her daughter Karen and granddaughter Allison at the restaurant when they're about to have dinner, and she just totally breaks down, and it's like heart-wrenching, you know. You really feel the trauma, the terror that she went through back in 1978 with Michael Myers. And plus, after that restaurant scene, just before she had gone to see Michael being transferred from the Smiths Grove Sanitarium to another facility, she wanted to be there in case something went wrong, you know, so she could take Michael out once and for all, you know. But just the fact that he's being transferred, you know, and just the fact that she got a glimpse of him, she saw him in that bus. She got her first glimpse of Michael Myers from 40 years ago. And that really got to her, that really brought it to light, and that really brought her back to 1978 and the horrors that she witnessed, the horrors she went through, and you really feel it in that scene, and I love it. It was like almost like an Oscar-worthy moment, in my opinion, because it really like got to me, you know. But anyway, I also like Karen Strode's character, as played by Judy Greer, which I noticed some people didn't quite like, which I don't understand, because she is kind of bitchy towards Laurie, you know, but there's a good reason for that, you know. And that's the fact that Laurie raised Karen to be a survivalist from the time she was a little baby, you know. And because of that, Child Services actually took her away from Laurie, you know. They thought she was an unfit mother. And I just really liked that dynamic. I thought it was really cool. And, you know, maybe she comes off as being unlikable, but there's a good reason for that. And I think Judy Greer does an excellent job. And once we find out that Laurie was right all along, all this time, you know, and it's like a, you know, gut punch, you know, for Karen. And she's like, oh my God, she was right this whole time, you know. And look at the way I behaved towards her. Look at Child Services took me away from her, but she was right the whole time. And you really feel that revelation inside of her, and I like that. And there was also a moment when Michael finally catches up with them, where it really hits her, you know, this is real, he is real, and he is coming, he is here, he's a threat. The threat of Michael Myers is real. And that just hits her like a ton of bricks, and you can see the shock on her face, you know. And I really enjoy that. And I love the relationship between Laurie and her granddaughter. There's one awesome scene that just is ripped right from the original 1978 classic when they show Andi Matichak in the classroom looking out the window, just like that scene in the original. Except instead of seeing Michael out there, she sees Laurie outside. I just thought that was a cool kind of swap, but really cool homage to the original. And there's another scene later on when we see Michael looking down the house onto the ground from the balcony, and it's Laurie that disappears. So another swap, another cool nod to the original that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I love the relationship between Laurie and Allison, because she feels the same way as Karen does, but she does start to break down and does start communicating with Laurie. They start actually having a relationship. They do connect on some level, whereas she hasn't been able to connect with Karen. They do start spending some time together. It's just really well done. It's really well portrayed, the 3 generations of Strode women. I love that. So that's one of my many positives of the film. I love those 3 characters, and I love those 3 actresses, and all their performances are great. The things I don't like is some other characters, some useless characters that I don't like. Some of them are just fodder for Michael to pick off one by one, you know, in true slasher movie fashion. And some characters you can tell they were just put in there as plot devices to move the plot along, to move the movie along, you know, to further the events, you know, that they would just put there specifically as a plot device. Mainly the one biggest offender is the doctor character. I really didn't like the doctor character, and I thought it was like an insult to Dr. Loomis, as played brilliantly by Donald Pleasance in most of the franchise. I didn't understand why they felt the need to have a Dr. Loomis type character. You're not going to beat Dr. Loomis as played by Donald Pleasance. You're just not going to do it, so don't do it. Why? You know? They could have had maybe a character for a minute as a kind of a nod, but they didn't have to have a fully fleshed out character who's just a knockoff of Dr. Loomis. You even see Laurie say it at one point when she finally meets him. She's like, "Oh, you're the new Loomis." I'm like, really? Really? I just had to laugh. It was silly, but at the same time, I didn't like it. You know, it took me out of the movie. I just didn't like the character, and especially didn't like the plot twist they do with the character. So we find out that the doctor is so obsessed with Michael Myers, that he's so into his psyche, trying to get inside his head, that he kills a man, you know, and he kills the deputy, as played by Will Patton, who does a great job, by the way. So he kills Will Patton's character, and then puts on the Michael mask, and then he's going to jump inside the police car, drag Michael's body inside the police car while Andi Matichak's sitting in the back, and drive Michael over to Laurie so they can have the big epic battle, and then maybe he can learn something more about the psyche of why Michael has to battle with Laurie and their connection, and, you know, learn more about Michael. That's how obsessed he's supposed to be, I guess. I'm assuming that's the point they're trying to make, because that's all he ends up being, is a plot device to take Michael to Laurie and for them to meet and have their big epic battle. It just seems silly to me, you know. But the one good thing that comes out of that scene is Michael kills the guy, and it's the most brutal murder in the film. So Michael wakes up, of course, wakes up in the back seat with Andi Matichak right there, but Michael doesn't even care about her. He just wants to get this stupid doctor out of the way. So he takes him out of the car, and the dude's sitting there trying to get more out of him, like, "Michael, say something. What are you thinking right now?" And trying to get him to talk, and he's just, like, Michael does his little head tilt thing in classic fashion, and he just stamps right on his head and squashes it like a pumpkin. I love it. That was awesome. Because I hated that character, so it was, like, gratifying to see him die, almost. It's pretty sad when we want to see someone die horribly. What's wrong with me? But at any rate, couldn't stand that character. They could have took him out of the movie, and the movie would have been better. Not just the same, it would have been better. Because there was no need for him. And another thing I wanted to say is the brother-sister connection. The reason that they retconned all the sequel was that brother-sister connection, which was introduced in the 1981 sequel, Halloween 2. They thought that became really convoluted, and the plot became ridiculous as they kept going with all the sequels, because they focused on that brother-sister angle. But I honestly feel like that would have made this film work better, you know? I thought it would have made the film just the same, but even more intense because of that connection. There would be more reason for them to have such an epic clash and for them to have such a personal battle. But it is what it is, you know? Not everyone's going to agree with that, but that's just my personal opinion. I felt like they could have kept that connection, and this movie, I think, would have been even better. Even the connection between Michael and Laurie would be even more personal. But that's just my opinion. Whatever, you know. I know a lot of people are not going to agree with that, but a lot of people don't like the brother-sister angle. But me personally, I always liked it. I thought it was really cool. I don't think it makes Michael any less scary. I mean, I think it makes him even more scary that he wants to murder his own sister, you know? But it is what it is, you know? I'm sure that was a John Carpenter decision, because he never liked the idea that, which he wrote, and that is the brother-sister angle. He came up with that idea. And I guess he never really liked that, so I'm sure he had something to do with them taking that out. But at any rate, the film is still really, really good. But I just don't think it's the best. I feel like it had potential to be the best sequel, if not the best film in the franchise. Because they did so many things well, did so many things right. It's just kind of frustrating that they were almost there, you know, but they had just a few stupid things, and people doing stupid moves, and making stupid decisions, and, you know, making fun of 80s slashers, but at the same time this movie feels like an 80s slasher. So I didn't really like that, you know. It's like trying to be like Scream sometimes, but it's not it's not supposed to be a slasher parody. It's supposed to be a straight up slasher. At any rate, I also want to talk a little bit about the third act, which I thought was excellent. I love the third act. There's so much tension, so much suspense. And I want to talk first about another kind of plot device, and that was Allison's boyfriend, who goes to the dance with Allison, and Allison catches him making out with another girl. So they get into a big argument, and the boyfriend grabs her cell phone and throws it in the punch bowl, you know, and then obviously she can't use her phone anymore. So yes, plot device, now Allison can't call Laurie Strode, because we know Michael's out there picking people off one by one, and eventually he's going to end up at Allison's doorstep, you know. And then when that happens, she's not going to be able to call Laurie, and of course that's exactly what happens. Michael ends up meeting Allison and, you know, chasing Allison down, but eventually Allison does get to the Strode home. And they have their big epic battle, and it's really awesome. It's like all three Laurie Strode women going against Michael Myers, you know. And it's epic. It's awesome. It's tension-filled, and of course I love that scene, like we saw a little bit of it in the trailer, when Michael finally finds Laurie, and Laurie is at the front door. She locks all the front door, all the 35 locks that are on the front door. And Michael just smashes through the door and grabs her, you know. So awesome. So awesome. I love that scene. And they just have an epic battle. It's so great, you know. And of course, Laurie tricks Michael into coming down to that bunker that she has set up, that underground bunker where she has all the guns, and, you know. And there is a heartbreaking scene when Laurie leaves to go try and catch Michael. She's like, you two stay down here, stay safe in the bunker, and she's going to try and hunt Michael down. But eventually Michael finds out where they are, and we see Karen take one of the guns, and she's having a really hard time with it, you know. She's like, Mommy, I can't do it, I can't do it. And she's crying, and like, wow, it's a powerful scene, I love it. But eventually Michael gets caught down in the bunker, and all the others, so Laurie has it all booby-trapped, so he ends up trapped down there, and they set the whole thing on fire, and